Hello and welcome to another Davis Method video series on the White Mountains Triathlon. Today's video is a little bit different. Obviously, I've got all this stuff with me, and that's because we're going to be talking about transition. Now, transition is commonly known as the fourth leg of triathlon, and that's because it is timed just like the other parts of the triathlon, and a lot of people kind of forget about it. So what we're going to do today is hopefully get you a little bit more comfortable with what to do in transition, how to be more efficient during the transition process, and just a couple tips and tricks to get you going. Alright? So, where the heck does all this stuff that I keep hitting everything else with, my helmet's hanging around, where does all this stuff go? Right? So what is in this bag? Why is it such a big bag? And why do I have a bike pump? What's going on here? So the first thing that you want to do after knowing what to bring and pack it up is get it all to transition area early in the morning so that you can set it up calmly, efficiently, and successfully. Okay? So once we get to the transition area, there's going to be somebody checking you in, alright? And so you're going to have to already have put your numbers on, so let's talk a little bit about those. So there's going to be a number in your race packet that goes on your bike, either on the seat tube, on the flat piece right here. Some people don't have as large of a surface area, so they can't fit a number here, and some people will go right on the top tube here. Again, it'll depend on your bike, but that's kind of the general rule of thumb, here, here, or here. Okay? Stay, little fella. Alright. So that's the bike. The second number is going to go on your helmet. So right on the front of your helmet, you're going to have some adhesive on the sticker. It's going to go right there, and obviously the most important part about the triathlon is getting pictures to prove that you did it and to look really cool. So having that number on the front of your face, that way when the cameraman takes a picture, you'll be able to get that picture right away. Okay? The third number is going to be a race bib like you've seen in running races if you're familiar with that, and you will either pin it or use a race belt to have on your chest. All three of these numbers are going to be the same. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to pretend that my number is 15 because that's the bib that I chose from a previous race to use. Okay, so my bike has been cleared by the person checking everybody in. I have no exposed bar ends. My brakes are working and effective. Everything looks pretty good to go. Shifters are working, batteries charged up, all that fun stuff. So they let me in, right? I've got a number, I've got a uniform, I've got a bike, I look like a competitor. Here we are. So, now in front of me is a whole bunch of racks, and like we talked about in the previous video, there's going to be a rack area specific for the sprint, a rack area specific for the Olympic, and a rack area specific for the half athletes. Alright? The person at the check-in of transition will be able to direct you. There will also be signs, and there'll be numbers all correlating to the specific athletes where you need to go. So it should be very straightforward. But anyway, so we get into the transition area. I'm looking for a rack that will pertain to number 15. Now, probably there's not going to be a rack that says specifically 15, but it'll be likely that there's one rack that says 1 to 10, another rack that says 11 to 20, 21 to 30, you get the idea, it keeps going, right? So, obviously I don't have a rack in here, but let's pretend that I've gotten to the rack that's 11 to 20. I'm going to put my bike, pretend there's a bar here, I'm going to put my bike on the seat post, okay? I can do that, or I can go on my handlebars, but because of the way my bars are set up, I prefer seat post, so pretend that the bike is racked right here. It's going to stand up using this weight bench for the moment. Okay? So step one, bike in the right place. Now like I said, it's 11 through 20, so there's going to be plenty of bikes in that area. If you get there first, you'll have the pick, right? If you don't, you'll have to figure out where everybody else's bikes are and where your space can be. But say I did get there first. I'm going to want to rack my bike on the end of the rack if I'm expecting to get out of the swim quickly, and I'm going to rack my bike more towards the middle or the other end of the rack that's further away from where everyone is running if I'm going to end the swim slowly. Okay? It's a little bit of a self-awareness test, because ideally this bike would go, then the next bike would go, and then the next bike would go, and then the next bike would go, based on people's coming out of the water, and so that way the person can always have a clear path. So if you're a really fast swimmer and you get stuck on the inside of the rack, you're going to have to go around other people's bikes, all of their stuff. It's just not as efficient, so ideally if you're a fast swimmer, get to the edge of the rack. Right? Okay. Cool. So bike number 15 is on the rack that pertains to bike number 15, and we're good to go. Now, setting up the transition area. Again, we have more space here than we would outside because there would be other people and bikes, but just bear with me here. So why did I bring a bike pump? Well, tire pressure can go up and down with just slow leaks. If there is one, making sure that your tire pressure is good in the morning is important. Different changes in temperature. Ideally you're not, but if you leave your bike in the car and the car gets really hot and then it gets cold overnight, the expanding and condensing of air molecules, science and stuff, that's not really my area of expertise. Anyway, it's a good idea to top off or just make sure that you have the right amount of pressure in your tires. I personally use a specialized air tool. I really like it. It will be in transition. It's super bright so I can see it, but also so that everyone else who is going to ask me to use it can use it and I can find it if I need it back. There's a gauge on there, and I'm going to go between 100 and 120 psi depending on the race. So a couple weeks ago I raced in really cold, rainy weather, so I decided to go on the 100 end as opposed to 120, give me a little bit more traction. I wasn't going to lose too much speed based on that, but I was going down winding hills, so I wanted to get a little bit more grip. You can go more towards the 120 if you know the roads are really smooth. If it's a warmer day, you're going to grip just on the hot asphalt with the rubber on your tires anyway, so you don't need to worry about having lower pressure to give more surface area to the tires. We could talk a lot about pressure, but you guys can just send me a message if you have any questions. Anywhere between 100 and 120, usually a pretty good rule of thumb if you're using these kinds of tires. On the tire, it will tell you how much pressure is recommended, the max pressure, etc. So, pretend that we use this, someone else is going to take it, thank you, bye-bye, make sure you give it back please, it's not that cheap. Okay, awesome. Bike tires are set up, that's out of the way. Next thing, let's just go through the bag here. We've got a helmet. It is certified, stickers on the inside so that the officials will say that I'm allowed to use it. Where do I put it? Well, first of all, I want to make sure that the straps are outside of the helmet. That way I can just put it on quickly, click, and go when we get to that point. For me personally, I like to put it right on the end of my bars. That way when I come into the transition area, I can take it, put it on my head, and go. Okay? Some people put it on the ground right next to their bike, that's fine too. You just have to bend down and pick it up. But again, totally your call. So, helmet is on the end of the bars, and then sunglasses. Now, I always bring two pair. One pair of darker shaded sunglasses and one clear. I don't have a lot of different sunglasses, but I do have the two. So, this one is if it's a sunny day, weather can change rapidly, so it's a good idea to be prepared. These ones are clear in case it's raining. This is what I wore on the last race. So let's pretend that it's a really sunny day, so I don't need these. It's going to be a great day in June for this White Mountains Triathlon. Now, some people will put their sunglasses in the helmet so that they can just simply put these on, grab the helmet, and go. Thanks for the compliments on the cool shades. Other people, like myself, will take them and just loop them around an accessible cable. Now, why would I do that? Why would I put my sunglasses on a cable? They could fall off. High risk, high reward type of thing. So, in this situation, all I have to do is grab my helmet, put it on my head, grab my bike, and go. And then once I'm already pedaling, I can just put the sunglasses on. Okay? So that's where I'm going to leave the sunglasses, and I recommend that you do as well, as long as you've practiced it and know that they won't fall off between running and getting onto the bike. Okay? So just practice, practice, practice with all this stuff we're talking about. And if you need to, go back. I know I'm talking fast, I have a lot to cover. It's dry in here, so I can't really... Oh, look at that. Got some water. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Water. Make sure that you pre-mix your nutrition if you are putting anything in the bottles. I recommend that you do, but also that you've tried it before, and then put it onto your bike. I have the bottle cage here, and I have a bottle cage here. So I'll have a bottle here, and then the helmet goes on top, and a bottle in the middle, and that's where that stays. Then, let's go through the bag some more. We've got this funky thing and some tape. So, this is not an advertisement, however I do really like this product. It's called Victoria Pit Stop Road Racing. It is a repair and inflation device. So you take the cap off, this goes directly onto your bike tube valve, and it will fix and inflate your tire. So you shake it up, good to go. You don't have to use tire levers, you don't have to use a tube. You can order these on Amazon, I believe it's 20 bucks. So it is expensive because it is a one-time use. Knock on wood that I've only had to use these once, but it is much smaller than carrying all of those tools. So what I do, I'll take this, take some tape, I'll go around, put it right on the seat, or the top tube here, and then we're good to go. So now that's streamlined with the rest of my bike. It doesn't reduce any aerodynamics for the most part. It'll stay there. It's easy to rip off when I do need to take it off. Hopefully I don't. Excuse me. So that's that. And then the tape you can kind of just leave for a second. If we need it for something else, we will use it. Now, the next thing, let's get inside of this wonderful transition bag here, is our bike shoes. So, what do we do with these? Well, personally I feel like if you're comfortable doing it, the most efficient way to get onto your bike is to already have your shoes on the bike. These have really convenient loops for rubber banding, which we're going to do in a second. If you aren't comfortable with that, that's totally fine. Go ahead and place your shoes right near the front of your bike so that you can come in, shoes on, helmet on, and get out of there. If you are putting your shoes on your bike, the way to do it, put your hand inside the shoe. Don't mind the smell, I apologize. Clip in, okay? Other side, up, it's going to move. Clip in, and that's that. Now, those shoes are just going to spin if I ride, or if I run with the bike before I get on. So what I'm going to do is take a couple rubber bands that I have on the bike or in my bag. I personally use really thin rubber bands so that they break easily. I'm going to go ahead and crank these wheels back a little bit. There we go. Loop it around the back. If you don't have a loop, you can go through the cleat. I've done it before with some athletes. It works. And then go right onto the skewer. Okay? The front shoe will loop through the loop again, and then go around the front derailleur. Now it's just a rubber band, it's not going to harm the derailleur, you're going to be fine. But notice now my shoes are flat, so my feet can go right on top, and I don't have to put my shoes on while I'm stationary. I can put my shoes on while I'm riding. Time saving, right? That's what triathlon is about, being as efficient as possible from point A to point B. So, shoes are on the bike, out of the way. We're really minimal right now, right? Look at this beautiful transition area. There's nothing on the ground. Alright, so obviously we still have some stuff in the bag, so the fact that this is minimal is going to change. So let's see what we've got. The next thing that I pull out of here is a towel. Now, for me personally, I like to use the towel as a way to identify my space and to kind of mark the territory so that no one else uses the space. So we put the towel down right next to the front tire, just like so. And that way, when you run in, you see your towel. Hopefully you have a really bright, vibrant towel, something unique. So I believe someone has a Reptar towel in my group of friends / athletes. Someone has like just a bright pink towel. Just ways to know where your bike is, because when you come in off the swim, you're a little out of it. There's a lot of bikes, there's a lot of stuff. Somebody might have the same bike as you, but make sure that you get to your towel. Okay? So that's just kind of why I have that there. Then we have to set up our run shoes. So because our bike shoes are on the bike in this scenario, the first thing that's going to be laid down is going to be the run shoes. Now these run shoes have speed laces, okay? So what that does is that allows me to simply open up the shoe, put my foot into it as the grass falls off from my morning run. Foot slips in and you're good to go. You don't have to tie or adjust anything. It saves a lot of time. Then we have an homage to Dobby because he is a free elf. Two different types of socks. However, they have nice lines on the side. Not necessary, but I like it. That way I can fold the sock over, line up those lines, and I know where the top of the sock is, and I put this right into my shoe. So it's got a nice opening. That way I can put my foot in really easily and then fold that back part over, and it's on my foot super fast. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fold this over. Easy opening. Into the back of the shoe, super fast. Okay, so when you come in, put those socks on, put the shoes on, no problem. Then we have a cap and some stuff inside. Yay, prizes. So for the cap, personally I like to wear a cap when I'm running, especially on a really sunny day. This has a really good band to protect from sweat, so it stops it from getting in my eyes, especially if you use a little bit of sunscreen or something like that, or just if you're sweating salty. It can really ruin your race, actually. So having something on your head to prevent the sweat, but also to flip around if you're wearing it backwards, so that you can look great in photos, things like that. You can put it towards the front if you get a lot of sun in your eyes or if it starts raining or something. So having the hat on, really good idea. I like it. Some people wear visors because they're more cool. This one is a mesh hat, so it's really, really breathable. Then we have a race belt. Now, a race belt is like pinning a number to you, except you don't have to use pins. And you don't have to do it ahead of time, so you can do most of the race without it. So it just clips to your back, right around your waist, a little bit higher, and there you go. So you've got your number for when you run, okay? We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then a gel, just in case you run out, if you drop some, I like to put a gel by my stuff. Again, you can just grab it really efficiently. So why don't we put all this stuff inside the hat, and we'll explain why in a bit. What else is in this wonderful bag? Well, I'm seeing some sunscreen and some bug spray. Kind of random. I'm definitely not going to be having this in my jersey running with it. But at the beginning of the day, you may want to do a quick spray of sport, waterproof, water-resistant sunscreen, especially on your shoulders, your calves, things like that, things that are going to burn. You don't want to feel a couple days later really crappy because of a sunburn. You're going to be feeling sore because you just did a triathlon. So minimize the soreness. So quick spray, give it to your friends, let them use it. If you're in a heavily wooded area or if there's a swamp or something nearby, there's lots of bugs, early on in the season especially, some off is really good too. And then we have the wonderful wetsuit. Now, wetsuits mean swimming, and a lot of people aren't too keen on swimming, but hey, they make it better because you are more hydrodynamic, you are more buoyant. It will typically increase your ability to rotate your shoulders and hips because of the way that the wetsuits are made. So overall, you're warmer typically, mostly, and some races are wetsuit mandatory, so you have to have one. So we'll talk about these specifically in a little bit, but I just want to say that my favorite part about wearing a wetsuit is putting it on. Alright, it's super easy. Alright, so in all actuality, putting on a wetsuit can be a really big pain. And these guys are not cheap, not this specific one, but wetsuits in general are an investment. And so you don't want to ruin it when you're putting it on, and it can be a really big damper of your day. I've done it before where you go to put your foot through the wetsuit, and the next thing you know, it literally goes through the wetsuit and not through the foot hole, and you've got a big rip, and you've got to race anyway, and you kind of just have to deal with it, but then you've got to buy a new wetsuit. And it's this whole thing, okay? So, how to put on a wetsuit super efficiently? Well, firstly, I would like to introduce you to a friend of mine called Body Glide, alright? This stuff is great. You roll it on just like deodorant. Hopefully most of you are wearing deodorant. So, it's a gelatin lubricant that will allow you to get your shoulders, your elbows, your wrist cuffs, knees, and ankles. Okay? Also around the neck to prevent chafing, super important. It would suck to have a real chafed up neck later on in the week, during the race even. It can really, I've seen some pretty nasty chafing on the neck. It's not fun. So make sure that you body glide on edges, joints. Then, either use socks or plastic bags. Personally, I like to use socks because they're just much easier to stay on your feet. Meant to be there. Go ahead and put your foot, whichever foot you like, into one leg. Then, from the inside, a lot of people don't think about this. From the inside, pull your wetsuit up and over. Wow, that was super easy. Okay, so I've got one leg inside, and I didn't ruin the outside of my wetsuit with my nails. Oftentimes, I will make sure to cut my nails ahead of time. But you really don't even have to as long as you use the inside because it's going to be much more protective than the really smooth hydrodynamic outside of your wetsuit. Then, take your other foot, put it in, same thing, kind of roll it down, grab as low as you can on the inside of your wetsuit, pull up. Repeat. Once you have one foot already in, you're going to find that it's a little bit harder to put the wetsuit on. But again, grab from the inside, pull, almost there, Bessie, and pop. Alright, so then, same thing. Pull up, try not to dig in with your nails, just use your hands. Keep. It's also really warm in this building right now, so I'm kind of sweaty, so it's sticking. You're just going to make sure that you pinch the fabric if you are bringing it up on the outside. Ba, ba, ba. Roka wetsuits have numbers where your joints go, which is really convenient. And you just pull that up there, excuse me. And then, again, from the inside, you need to get your leg up a little bit higher, other leg a little bit higher. And there we go. Don't put your wetsuit on too early because it is really, really warm on the inside of this thing, okay? So make sure that you put it on right before you're getting into the water, which means you have to have practiced and be really efficient about it because you don't want to be rushing to get your wetsuit on and then rip it. Go ahead and put your arm through one of the holes. You can't really get the outside, or the inside, excuse me. So again, pinching using the base of your thumb, not the tips of your fingers. Just getting it up nice and easy. It really isn't that bad. I've had a lot of people really dread putting wetsuits on. Same thing on the other side. Get that arm in. Boom, boom, boom. All while talking to you, didn't take too long. Now, I've got this wonderful logo of a super cool company on the back, but I've also got a zipper. Ideally, you're going to have a friend or somebody around you say, hey, you mind zipping me up? Because if you just pull that thing, if it's an older wetsuit, or if you pull from the wrong angle, you're going to rip your suit. Now I know that this is a pretty new suit and that I've got it straight, so I'm going to pull slowly straight up if I don't have a friend around, and then kind of work it a little bit. Get this here, come around, and we're good to go. And now we've got a tail to pull from when I get out of the water, okay? I'm going to shimmy these arms up just slightly because with a wetsuit you want to make sure that you have more fabric in the arms than you do in the forearms, in the shoulders than the forearms, excuse me, because you want to be able to move your shoulders really easily, okay? So if this is pulling down and pulling towards you and this is really tight, then every stroke you take is going to be more work. So if you have more fabric, more material built up into your shoulders, it'll be easier for you to swim. And again, because I've got the numbers identifying where, okay, number 2, right in my, on my elbow, number 3, right on the top of my shoulder, I'm good to go, my wetsuit is fitted properly. Okay? So that's how you put on your wetsuit. Socks, super helpful. Pull from the inside, get a buddy. Okay, those are the 3 things. Now, what do I do with, somewhere around here, we've got a couple pairs of goggles. Tinted, yellow, greenish. Alright? Lots of companies sell lots of different types of goggles. I have these 2. The yellow and green are for low light situations. The tinted are for really sunny days, like if there's a glare on the water. So I'll probably go with, hopefully, I'll go with the darker tint because it'll be a beautiful sunny day at Echo Lake. So imagine I put these on, okay? And I've got my race cap from the race packet. So I've got my goggles on. Let's just go for it here. Okay, so we're good to go. Goggles and cap, pretend the cap is there. I'm swimming. I get out of the water. First thing I do, goggles onto the head, okay? Strap, let's release it. Make sure that you get that top part of your suit off, okay? So I'm running up the beach and I'm already taking my suit off like so, okay? So now my top half is free, the bottom half is there. Now I'm going to take my goggles and cap off. I'm going to put them right here. Now I'm free to run. I have nothing on my head to take off when I get to transition area. My goggles are safe. I'm not going to lose them. They're going to be somewhere really close to my transition area. So I've now run to my bike. I found it because I have my towel that I know I've practiced it a couple times, and I've got my towel that's really vibrantly white in this situation. How do I take the bottom off efficiently? Well, rip down. Goggles are going to fall off. That's okay because you're by your stuff. Just step on your wetsuit, okay? Once you get down towards your ankles, rip those cuffs off. Put your wetsuit near where your bike was, and then we're on to the next step. So our bike is here. Grab your helmet. Boom. Clip. Take your bike. Get out of here. And here we go. See you later, everybody. Have a good race. Now when we come back, our bike is going to look very similar to this, except the rubber bands are going to be broken because we'll have already taken them off. They will have already broken. Put the bike back. Take your helmet off. Put that down. Remember we talked about, still got socks on from earlier. Take our socks, put those on. Boom. And boom. Nice and quick. Shoe. Quick. And quick. Grab my hat with my stuff, and I'm out. Okay? So now if you imagine I'm on the course, I'm running. I take this stuff out of the hat, throw the hat on. I'm going to rock it backwards for you guys. I'm going to take this gel, put it in my pockets in the back of my suit. Take this, clip it on. I'm still jogging. And I'm good to go. Now I like to swing that around so there's nothing in my way. It's just a personal preference. And I'm good to go. And so I went through transition. I don't know how long that took me just now, and I wasn't really focused, but it was super fast, right? So you come in, all of your stuff is here. Your transition area is really minimal, okay? That's kind of one of the key things, to have a minimal transition area that's pre-set up, okay? So focusing on getting everything, let me take this goofy stuff off. Focusing on getting everything set up in the morning is going to be key. Take a little bit of extra time, show up early, make sure that everything looks right. If you're doing the half, feel free to ask me to come over and check out your transition area. Practice, 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 okay? Those are the specifics for setting up your transition area. Now, the one thing I want to talk about before you all sign off is getting in and out of transition. So like we said, have something to note where your stuff is. Some races don't mind. Excuse me. Some races don't mind if you have really obnoxious things. I've actually seen somebody with a big Garfield balloon tied to the rack right where theirs is, so they knew where to go. I feel like that's not really kosher. But hey, it's worth asking the race director if you really feel like you're not going to know where to go. But rehearse. So once you get your area all set up before you start warming up, I recommend going down to the beach, walking the path that you're going to be running out of the water, getting to your bike, walking from where your bike was to where the bike out is, and then walking back in to from where the bike in is to your bike, and walking from there where the run out is, and repeating that a couple times if it's not too far a distance and you have time, so that way you've paced it out a few times, you really are confident in where your stuff is, and you're going to be good to go on race day. Alright? So, having a bigger bag or a transition specific bag is nice. It's really convenient to have so that all your stuff fits nicely. Making sure that you have all of your gear ready to go, having a floor pump so that you can get your tires set up, having a plan is really key. And that way you can just execute on race day and have fun. Transitions can be, when you're actually in the physical transition area, obviously depending on the races they can change for times, because it could be a quarter mile or more to run from the beach to the transition area. This is a really short run for you guys. But when you're actually in the transition area, it should take less than 30 seconds to get your helmet on, get your bike out, to drop your bike off, get your run shoes on, and get out. So that's only 1 minute added to your entire race, all right? That's huge. So if you run the same pace as somebody else, but transition a minute, T1 and T2 combined, and then they run the same pace as you, but they transition 3 minutes combined, you just won that race. And that's super exciting, and it wasn't that hard to practice this a couple times in your driveway, right? Everyone have a fantastic race. As always, contact@thedavismethod.com if you have any questions. I will see you all there for the pre-race visualization and question and answer seminar at the top of the Summit Social the night before the race. Hopefully you all can make it. It's a really good time, beautiful views. Looking forward to seeing everybody. It's going to be awesome.